Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Velogames podcast, where today it's the big one. It's the 3-week race that takes place in the country underneath Belgium, above Spain, all for all the legal reasons. It's definitely not a fantasy game about that other race that's going on. That aside, we're joined, of course, by the regular cast. We've got Dan, Pedro, and Irfan here. We're going to talk about the Velogame 2024, the big competition. Yeah, we're not going to do any stage analysis because we realized that if you guys want to look at stages, you'll go and check out the Lantern Rouge preview more than likely. You're here to look at Velogames. But anywho, as you can see, literally my team is absolutely blank as I promised before this. But let's take a look at the rider prices. Tadej Pogačar at 28, Jonas Vingegaard 27, Roglic 20, Evenepoel 18. I guess taking a look at those four, who do people have of these four? Do you have just one? Do you have two? Dan, what are you? Have you just got Poggy?
The only person who I've had in all of my drafts and then clicked submit afterwards is Pogačar. Or Pogačar, however I'm supposed to be saying it. And in that second draft, I've got Pogačar and Roglic. I don't trust, not because Tish Benut specifically said it, but I don't trust Vingegaard. Yes, he might be the best Grand Tour climber in the world, but he hasn't raced since, April, is it?
Yeah.
So, and I feel the same but different about Remco in that I think he'll probably win one, if not both, of the time trials. I just think that last week of mountains is way too hard for him, and I haven't picked him at any point, and I don't think I will even think about it.
Pedro, are you tempted by Remco?
Not really. No. So far, I only had Pogačar in my team, and I don't think I'm gonna change that. Jonas, I mean, if we had some kind of inside info that he's at a super level, at Jonas level, that would be cheap. But I'm not too confident that he is gonna be at his best level, at least at the beginning. And when you consider that the first week already has some mountains, some stages where you can make a difference, and there's also the TT. How much time has he spent on the TT bike since the crash? And we've seen how Pogačar has been performing on the TTs. Remco will probably win the ITTs. There's something about Remco. Seems like every time I pick him, the guy just ends up as DNF. Roglic, it's not expensive. I could consider, but can he stand on the bike? Can he stay on the bike? I'm not going that way. So far it's Pogačar, and it's gonna remain Pogačar.
Irfan, are you tempted to take either one of Vingegaard, Roglic, or Evenepoel, or are you in the just Tadej Pogačar?
I think I'm going to take Pogačar just because of the Stage Race Championship, and I did pretty well in the Giro. So I think I will be safe to take Pogačar. But if someone want to catch up, and I've been looking at the post scores of Pogačar, and you can't look at the Giro because he just dominated that thing, and he got 3,800 points. But I think fair enough, Pogačar will bring his 2,800 points, but that's it. If you look at the other riders, Jonas is no ways going to bring 2,400 points, even if he wins the Tour de France, because like Pedro pointed out, he's just going to hide in the first part of the Tour de France and just, if he's on form, catch up, but that's not going to bring 2,400 points. Roglic is an enigma for everyone, and I think his tactic is just he's trying to go to his, as long as he's on the bike, he's trying to hide himself, he's in contention, and maybe have that 1 kill a day. And Remco is, for me, the safest choice. He's going to, if he finishes the race, even though he goes out of contention, he's going to bring more than 2,000 points, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's also worth saying maybe that George doesn't do white jersey point because it was going to overinflate those riders. which I think is a bit unfortunate. But yeah, it's just if people were wondering if they could get white jersey points for Evenepoel and other riders, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I think after Pogacar, I would be most tempted to take Remco just based upon how he did at the Vuelta last year, where even when he drops out of GC, he seems to still do well in breakaways, and he's just like super dangerous.
He could win a lot of stages and even KOM or something.
Yeah, that's arguably a more efficient way of getting Velogames points is by just having somebody who's just a pure stage hunting like monster rather than somebody just sitting in the GC group. If I was to take either one of these other three outside of Pogacar, it would probably be Remco actually, just because of the TT safety. Like he's probably going to come top 3 in the 2 TTs as long as he finishes. He could be top 10 GC or top 15 worse, but probably going breakaways a lot. But I agree with Irfan. Jonas being 24, he's got to get 2,400 points, and it's just with a first week where he's probably not likely to be that great. We're presuming. I just think that's like a week of racing where he might not score too much. Like if he doesn't, he needs to be kind of hitting the ground running. I think if you're that expensive, Roglic is just too crash prone for me. He hasn't finished the last 2 Tour de France's. The podium is quite open, and therefore there's going to be, I think, some really good value for money people who are going to be fighting for the podium, because those people who are fighting for the podium are the ones who hit like over 2,000 points. And maybe if we're not saying that there's some question marks here, there could be other people further down. But speaking of which, let's talk of those people: Ayuso, Jorgensen, Almeida, Mas, Thomas, Bilbao, Kelderman, and all the 6 credit riders. I mean, I don't want to just go through like each of them one by one, but are there any of these other all-rounders that you like, Dan?
Not a massive amount. I think I would be tempted to take Jorgensen because he's at least had a very good season, well above the expectations I think anyone had of him. I think he's the first rider in history to have won Paris-Nice and Duaz d'Or-Vlaanderen in the same season, which is a weird stat. So someone who, as a classics guy, shouldn't really be winning or podiuming a Grand Tour, but I certainly think he can. Yeah, why not? Why not? Go on. If G can, he can. As in Derek G, not British G. But I did have Enric Mas in one of my early drafts simply because he's so cheap at 10, and he's even cheaper than the Ineos boys in the climber category. But I just don't get any excitement from picking him because he'll just come 5th on every mountain stage, and it's just boring. Which isn't really how you should play Velogames unless you're going for the stage race championship like Irfan. Yeah, and the rest, I'm not much going on to be inspired by there for me anyway.
The problem is that you're going to need to pick another one. One of them is going to have to go in your team. Pedro, do you like any of the other ones?
Jorgensen might be a pretty good call because, as I said earlier, I believe Visma is gonna try to hide Jonas a bit in the beginning of the race and go for Jorgensen because actually the first week suits him a lot, and he might already get close to 400 points in the first week. It's not something I would find weird. And of course, I like Almeida. He'll come 5th every mountain stage then. But I mean, actually, when you look at his performance, he's a good choice because he has a good TT. He'll probably be second last man to Poggi. Because I don't believe Ayuso is gonna be in top shape. And he's not the kind of rider that will just do his job, drop, and lose 10 minutes. He's a fighter. He'll follow the wheels, and he'll end up probably reaching the 100 points per credit or somewhere close. Also like Mas, not as much as I like Almeida and Jorgensen, but he's a good shot. And Bilbao sounds interesting too. Other than that, I don't really like any of the other riders. I don't think Soler, Van Wilder, Guys will probably just be working for their leaders, and they are probably a waste of credits.
I think you are right, because if you think that Almeida could get, I don't know, 200 points from the TTs, he needs 1,000 points, maybe finishes top 10 GC, that gets you another, I don't know, 100, 200-ish. He needs to get 800, he'll get assists from Poggy, so he's down to like 700. Like, you know, it's becoming more and more realistic when you think about it.
I think there's only 1/6 that could actually have the potential to massively exceed their points per credit, and that's Lutsenko. Because he's done, I swear he's done a top 10 at the tour before. Because it's like Astana's one opportunity to get UCI points to stave off relegation. Although, you know, there's the story at the moment that Astana isn't going to exist after this season. He was clearly in really good form in Abruzzo. Was it a month ago? Beat Elise and Yates on a mountain. So, I mean, if you need a 6 credit all-rounder, I think he's a decent option.
Oh, I'm just like Pedro. I'm all around, all about on the Almeida train. Let's go. Yeah, because I've always liked him, and he was a monster at the Tour de Suisse. Like, he was working as number 2. He literally finished everyone, and Yates went, and he still came back and finished as the second best rider. So I think he's on an extraordinary form right now. And I also like Mas. He's our usual rider, and he looked good at the Dauphiné, was it? But the issue is there can only be 10 riders in the top 10. And we've been looking at the usual guys like we see at 7, 8, 9, 10, like Bilbao, Lutsenko, and so on. But I don't think these guys are going to make it this time, because it's just the best around the world here, and it's going to be hard to finish in the top 10 this time.
I agree with the Almeida. I think that he could be quite good, but I just fear that if he's going to be second to last man behind Yates and Pogacar, how's he going to do? But Almeida, like you say, is in fantastic form. I had him on my Tour de Suisse team, so I definitely know kind of the morale of Almeida. Mas, I think, like Dan said, is a boring pick, but it's an efficient pick. Is the thing. It doesn't inspire a lot of like excitement, but he gets the job done. Is the thing, and Mas could be very good. And I also quite like Bilbao. He was a big overachiever in terms of points per credit last year in the Tour. I think he got somewhere around 1,300 points for an 8 credit rider. So if he does something similar-ish, even if it's a bit worse, he could be quite good. So those are ones which I'm quite liking. But let's move on to the climber category, which is going to probably be even more of a headache. Apart from, it's a headache in a different way, where there's too many good riders to be going at. There's Rodriguez and Yates, Bernal and Simon Yates, Gal, Hindley, and a load of 8 credit riders. I think we'll leave the 8 credit riders just for now, because I think we all believe that this is that's a good place to be picking up some riders. But Dan, of those top, was it 6? Which ones of those are standing out?
Well, I've had a draft with Rodriguez and Bernal in it, purely because I think they'll smash through their points per credit. Because I think both will be in the top 5 at the end of the tour. I think Rodriguez will podium. It's not a spoiler because we're not giving our podiums, but you know, I think that I really rate him to do that. And if they don't, I think both of them could win stages from a breakaway if they're out of GC. I do really like Adam Yates, and I picked him last year with Simon. I just think they're a bit more expensive this year, and I think I'm not sure. I can't remember. I have to look from last year, but I'm not sure they were the most efficient point scorers.
No, I don't think they were the most efficient. I think Yates got about 1,800. Adam Yates, this is, and I think he was 12.
Yeah, because he was in GC at the end. Yeah,
and then Simon Yates got maybe like 1,600 to 1,700, but he was 10 credits, so he was a little bit better from like an efficiency standpoint. But I completely agree with you. I think with Rodriguez and Adam Yates, could be fighting for the podium and are better value for money than Remco and Roglic and Jonas. So you're not tempted by Simon Yates again, Gal, Hindley. You're not tempted by those.
Gal I have in the same category as Mas, in that he doesn't have a time trial, so he's not going to be challenging the proper GC battle. He'll be in the lower echelons. He will probably win one of the high mountain stages in the last week, but I'm not that inspired by him. Simon Yates, for some reason, I'm just not drawn to picking him at all. I'd rather have Bernal. And I think if Tom Yates said he's going for GC, I might be more tempted to do it. But he's moving on at the end of the year, so he might just want to, do his own thing. And I don't, I just don't. I trust Adam Yates way more than Simon. Like Adam Yates is so much more consistent than Simon is. It also helps that Adam's on UAE, so they kind of have to be. And then Hindley could be a sort of Adam Yates in that if Roglic is up there and GC is weird and Roglic is like first or second or third, Hindley's going to have to be his set course and be like fourth or something.
Before I go on to Pedro real quick, but I was thinking, obviously I had like rider prices in my head before the competition was released, thinking of how much I thought riders would cost. And I really thought that Adam Yates might cost something like 16 or 18 in this race. Just based upon third place last year, super strong, like some of his best numbers ever in Tour de Suisse. He won that like fairly convincingly with Almeida. 14 credit, like only a 2 credit increase from last year.
UAE are just so stacked now that it's a very stacked field. Like it's not just Jonas and Pogacar, it's 4 others potentially. He might not be as staying on at the end as previously, but you don't know. I mean, I could, to be honest, I'm so biased because it's Adam Yates and I'm British. I honestly think he could win the Tour if he was given a chance to. So
I mean, I think that the climbers, it's pretty simple. It's Rodriguez and Yates. I mean, when I saw Yates' price, I was like, yep, he's going on the team. Although I already had Poggi and Almeida.
Triple UAE.
Yeah.
UAE,
but actually, I believe Yates will be on the podium. Probably third, because he's going to be working for Poggi. And he'll break at some point, or at least lose a bit of time compared to the other GC riders. Rodriguez is going to be up there in the fight for the podium. Top 5 is pretty obvious, I guess, in my opinion. Simon Yates, I don't really see it. He'll probably do a good first week, like last year. The 2 first stages kind of suit his style. And then we have, of course, Bernal. I mean, if Bernal was going for stages, I would probably pick him if I knew he was gonna go for the stages. He's in good shape. He showed in Swiss.
Irfan, of the I'll give you the reins on the 8 credit riders. Of all of these ones, which ones do you like the best? Which ones would you be recommending people pick?
I think for the 8 credit riders, it's just going to be a personal pick for everyone. Like you have Baudet for the romantic and the French people. Buitrago is going to be for the Colombians. Carapaz would be like for guys like Pedro who really likes him. Like he has his fans. Ciccone would be for me and John. Just we like the guy and he's just explosive. Goju is another story. You really have to be like a big fan of Marc Maggio to go for him. Landa, actually, it really depends on what Remco does. If Remco is not feeling so okay and Landa is still up in the GC, we could find him some surprise because the form is good, but he's been poised to work for Remco. Lenny Martinez, I think if there wasn't the last race where he could totally tanked, we saw him this season. He was just getting stronger and stronger, and we had big hope for him. But I still think those who used to like Thibaut Pinot and those who's not feeling body are going to go for him. And of course, Vlasov. For me, if you're thinking of going for Hindley, just go for Vlasov. He's 2 credit cheaper. He has a better TT. And he's going to be the number 2 to Roglic. It's not going to be Hindley. I don't think so.
Dan, if you were to handpick just a few of them that you think are like the top tier of this 8 credit climber category, which ones would you say?
Buitrago, because I did not expect him to have a time trial in his locker, and now he's basically Miguel Angel Lopez but with a time trial, which is deadly. So I really like Buitrago. Like I like it's the top 3 of the top 4. I like Buitrago, Carapaz, and Ciccone. I think Ciccone could. Pogacar might wrap up KOM, but if someone's going to win it again for the second year, it'll be Ciccone. Carapaz could. I mean, I don't believe Walters when he says he can beat either Pogacar or Vingegaard. That's a bit wishful thinking. But I think he can definitely. I can envision something where he either drops out of GC and then goes to win a stage and then is back in GC or something like that. And he did really well in the Vuelta a couple of years ago doing that. So I am stuck between my two drafts, and one of them has any two of those three in at any particular moment.
Pedro, what do you think?
I mean, for me, it's gonna be probably Carapaz. He's looking in good shape. His interview was very interesting. Also like Buitrago a lot, but I can only fit one of those. And Ciccone, he was 7th on the Italian championships, so he probably isn't that much affected by his sickness. So yeah, Vlasov, of course, Vlasov, but I disagree with Irfan. I think probably Vlasov at the beginning is going to be Roglic's main man, but when the high mountains come, I believe it's going to be Hindley.
You could choose, Buitrago, Carapaz, or Ciccone. They're all fantastic picks. Trying to decide which one is the best of those is quite tricky. I'd say that I also like Vlasov. I think he could finish top 10 by being a domestique, and if Roglic crashes, well, when Roglic crashes, maybe Vlasov will be the leader of the team. I don't know. But 8 credits, their bar's so low. Like if they finish inside the top 10, they're going to easily excel 100 points per credit. Funny enough, Buitrago has in every Grand Tour exceeded 100 points per credit. He's really good at it. I'm going to put my name next to Ciccone. I think for me, I like Ciccone the best because it starts in Italy. And those two opening
winning
days,
stage 1.
Ciccone could, I think, finish top 5 in the opening 2 stages because he would look really good during the Dauphiné. And I think he does have a pretty fast kick at the end of in a sprint. I mean, I know he got Roglified, but he was the closest to him. And then Ciccone doesn't have a TT, so therefore he will drop out of GC and definitely go for stages, and therefore also might go for KOM. So I think Ciccone's got the upside where he's not blinded by some false aspiration of going for GC. Carapaz is so tempting. Like Pedro said, this is a guy who's finished on the podium of Grand Tours. He's won a Grand Tour, and now he's 8 credits. Like, that's... If you were told that as a Velogame player, you'd be like snapping somebody's hand off. Like, yep, give me that person right away, immediately, no doubts about it. Because yes, he has had a bit of an off 2 years, but he's still Richard Carapaz, and he could still very well finish in the top 10 in this race. To round up, Buitrago, Carapaz, Ciccone, go with either of those. Maybe go with Vlasov if you're feeling into it. If you want to lose, pick one of the French people. That's basically the rule there. So the 6 credit riders in the climbers, we've got Barguil, Steph Kras, Davide Formolo, Jack Haig, Chris Harper, Jesus Herrada, Jan Hurt, Guillaume Martin, Louis Mienquez, Oscar Onley, Wout Poels, Javier Romo, and Pavel Sivakov. There are almost as many of these as there are 4 credit riders in this competition.
Actually, when you look at the name of these riders, except for Luis Menches, who's a regular, some of them it's hard to believe they actually got only 6 credit. Some of them we don't know the form. We've seen a really good season start from Chris Harper before he had that terrible crash. But I don't know where he was standing with respect to Simon Yates. And if the people like J.K. Lula or smart enough, they know not to put all the eggs in the basket of someone like Simon Yates. So I think Chris Harper might do rather well. Guillaume Martin and Luis Menches, I think they'll try to do the usual things of trying or losing time on GC and then break away and getting back time into the top 10. But like I told you earlier, there's just so many people who can be in the top 10, so I don't think it's going to work this time.
I don't think much of them in the least disrespectful way possible. I think a lot of them, any of them, could be in the Mountains jersey for a week or 2 weeks, whatever. Like I see Guillaume Martin doing that or something, or being helped by or helping Geschke do that. I know Geschke isn't here; that's a different category. But all the 6 Cofidis riders, basically, they're all 6. The only one I think that is really good value, that is mainly because he's probably going to go stage hunting again, is Wout Poels. Meinke's, I don't, if he was going to get top 10, and yeah, maybe. I'm sure I picked him about 10 years ago when he was when he was the best young rider. I do like Onley. I think he has a chance of doing well in those first 2 stages because he's punchy like Ciccone, but not a proper mountains guy.
It's good if you can find somebody who, like Onley, you can almost think is going to do well in the opening 2 stages and kind of get you off the mark a little bit, so there's a bit less pressure later on for them to get those points.
When it comes to his Tour de Suisse, he actually beat and was neck to neck to some riders that cost 10 credits here. So like Bernal, Mas, he was really close to those guys. Gal, that's gotta mean something. And Poels will probably go for the stage hunting. Yeah, I think if you choose in between those 2, you'll be just fine.
On to one of the more interesting categories, I think, is the sprinter category, because this is definitely this category can really make and break a team. Like if you get the wrong sprinter in your team, you are not winning. Like you needed Philipsen in your team last year. There was no 2 ways about it. You just needed him in there. And funnily enough, speak of the devil, he's back. But he's 16 credits, which is a price increase from 14 credits last year. Wout van Aert is back. He's 14 credits, which is a 4 credit decrease from last year. Back to a cheaper Wout van Aert, you could say. Pedersen's at 12, De Lee, Groenewegen, loads of 8 credit riders. Guys, I am a little bit stuck here, and I'll explain why. Philipsen, in my opinion, is the fastest sprinter in this race, and he's probably going to win multiple stages. Pretty simple, right? Wout van Aert, a little bit kind of unknown, I guess, going into this. He had that injury. He was okay during Tour of Norway. Looked a little bit gassed during his national champs, but it's Wout van Aert, and he usually just scores really well in Velogames. He gets involved everywhere. But I think that Pedersen at 12 credits is like the most likely to hit the 100 points per credit, because like he's probably won like a top 3-4 sprinter in this race. He's versatile. He could do well on that gravel stage and stage 9. Any little lumps and bumps actually suit him more. What are you guys thinking about these top end sprinters?
Well, I think De Lee is the most exciting. However, he is basically the same profile as Pedersen in the climbing, but I think Pedersen is better at being put in the right place for a bunch sprint. Because I don't think De Lee has the best record of bunch sprints. Like he's usually right at the front or nowhere. A bit like Ewan. I have Pedersen at the moment because he's the only one I can afford and keep the other riders that I want. So I feel like the sprinter is kind of the last person you pick, or at least they are for me. Because like I want these GC people and then these stage hunters, and then like you've got 7 or 8 stages, and obviously there's no Champs-Élysées, so there's 1 fewer sprint this year. But I mean, I'd be happy taking someone like Groenewegen just because you know that he's going to be in and around Philipsen on all those pure sprint stages, and he's 6 credits cheaper. I'm not sold on Wout van Aert purely because like he might just not do sprints. But
yeah,
as we discussed earlier, I think because the sprint field is so not lower quality, because that's not fair, but there's no Moller, there's no Coy, there's no Milan, obviously, because he did Giro. Like it just pushes him higher up the list. It's like, well, you might as well go for it because your top end competition is Groenewegen, maybe Sam Bennett. There's probably 3 or 4 he's got to beat rather than 6 or 7.
Yeah. Wout van Aert gets the advantage as well in that he can probably top 5 both of the TTs as well. So that's like a little bit of a bonus.
I didn't think of that. Yeah.
It's a bonus that he gets over all the other sprinters. But like you just don't know what he's going to do. Like Dan said, he's just an enigma. You don't know if he's going to sprint. Like you are hoping that because he will do. Because if he doesn't, then he is not going to be worth it. But if he does sprint, then he will be worth it. But we don't know that, and I don't believe anything that comes out of Fever's Melissa Pike press room. I just think that it's all lies. Everything is made to trick us. But Pedro, what do you think of the top end sprinters in this race?
I mean, Philipsen for me is obviously the best sprinter. He'll probably end up winning 4 or 5 stages, but at 16 and Wout is gonna be probably protecting Jonas in some stages, which will be tiring for him. And like the gravel stage, he'll probably just be around Jonas, trying to keep him safe. So in my opinion, Pedersen is gonna be the best point per credit rider of the sprinters. He's versatile. He won't struggle with the climbs. I don't know what to think about the Lee. I had him in my team as a wild card. Then I sold him out, but I wanted some other GC rider. But I also like Sam Bennett at 8 credits. He might be worth it. And with this sprinting field, I think he'll probably be very close to the 800 points. Other than that, there's Germay. Some people are ruling him out, but I mean, this guy fought with Milan and Merlier in stage 3 of the Giro. So, and he's pretty versatile for other stages. So I wouldn't rule him out. It's not a bad call. If you want to have him, like, for example, as a wild card, Christoph, Gaviria, if you want to save some points. Gaviria is going to launch in Portugal this spring. But he'll probably get some points. I mean, 6 credits, 600 points, 7 stages, like the sprints.
It's a low bar that these 6 credit guys have got to hit, isn't it? Yeah. It's relatively easy for a 6 credit rider in a sprinter category to do quite well. Like Cockard is a great example from last year. He got like 800 points and he was 6 credits. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Irfan, who are you thinking of picking as your sprinter?
It's just a real headache here, right? I've counted. I've seen like there's 8 sprints. That's a needle sprint, and by sprints I mean those with some climb at the end. That's not going to be a trouble for guys like Phillips and Wout van Aert and Mats Pedersen. And then we have also to take into account that stage 9, the cobble stage, which fits Philipsen, Wout van Aert and Mats Pedersen. And when we look at Mats, he has a good TT. Stage 7 could be okay with him. I can't see him doing well on the last stage. And you also have to consider there's no Champs-Élysées. And unless they are going for the green jersey, most of the sprinters have no business still being in the race with the Olympics coming. I'm not a big fan of Philipsen, I'm not going to lie. For me, it's going to be Mats, like we said, the most valuable one at 12 credits. And we also like he's going to do everything and finish the race. And if he gets a chance to win the green jersey, he will win it. But when you really, guys, you look at it, we have a Wout van Aert going to do the France at 14 credits. When does it happen? Last season, I think he left around stage 16 or 17, something like that. And I think he brought like 1,600 points without winning any stages.
Yeah, that's why I'm really tempted. And also, he will stay to the end. Wow, that is like he won't leave like some other sprinters.
I don't know about.
Well, you say that
of the Olympics as well.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Unless I think the only sprinter who will stay right through that last week is going to be in green. He's not going to win the time trial, and unless Jonas is in yellow and needs help. Well, no, I scratch that. If Jonas is in touching distance of Pogacar or whoever, or is in yellow, I think they're not. He's not going to say, "Oh, I need to prepare for the Olympics. I'm going now."
Like because the Olympics is like the Olympic road race is like a month after the tour finishes. Like, there's no way. Like,
is it?
There's no way. Like, well, it might not be a month. It might be like 3 weeks, but there's like an extra.
All right.
I know it is a really hard 3 days, but an extra 3 days. Unless he's got another kid on the way, I don't know. Who knows? But
quick turnaround.
I think, I think I agree with you guys. I think Philipson is very expensive. The thing is, if Philipson wins, who's finishing second? Because it's going to be somebody who's quite a bit cheaper than he is. And if you get the person who's finishing second or like third or fourth consistently, but they're a lot cheaper, then they're going to be probably better than Philipson, especially if you can invest those credits somewhere else in your team. And I think, can Pedersen do 95% of what Philipson does, but he's 4 credits cheaper? He probably can, can't he? So, yeah, I think that Pedersen of these is the safest. Philipson is the most likely to win the most stages. Wout is just the complete rogue person who you want to go with if you're feeling particularly brave. And then if you want to save some credits, go with Bennett, maybe Cav, but I've never seen.
I do have Gaviria at the moment, but simply because he's so consistent. He is my wild card at the moment, so I'm not just going to pick him. This isn't like the Vuelta where you need a really cheap sprinter.
Exactly.
But I think I can see Gaviria scoring as many points as like a Poles or an Onley or someone like that.
Anyway, let's move on to the unclassified riders, where there are all these 8 credit riders really are really throwing a spanner in the works for me. But I think to begin with, what I want to ask is, I am thinking of going with Pidcock. Is anybody else thinking of going with Pidcock, or are you wanting to save credits here for somewhere else?
I would go with Pidcock if I knew he was not gonna go for GC. Because if he's not going for GC, this guy can do like fantastic, can win like 2-3 stages, you know. But if he's going for GC, I don't really trust his GC skills. And 10 credits, if he's going for GC, then I'm out.
I think he's got a great chance in those opening 2 stages. Then again, we did also say that last year, and he didn't do very good on stage 1. But I think he's going to try and, do better this year and be like, okay, it didn't work last year. Let's try and make it work this year. This is a guy who's finished. He's got like 900-ish points the last 2 times.
He was in an initial draft, which was Pogacar heavy, and then I went with 3 cheap all-rounders and climbers, and then I had Pidcock, Derek G, and basically outsiders for GC, top 10s from the unclass, because I think that's where the value is, or that's where the value's been in the past, because you could get someone who scores over 1,000 points and they're only 6 or 8 or 10 as Pidcock is. I think Ineos are so stacked.
Yeah.
Like, they probably have the best team all round. And I think if Rodriguez and Bernal are doing really well, he's probably going to be chained up a bit. But if he is their 3rd GC option, then he might end up in the top 10. He is in that bracket with Pogacar and Roglic and Ciccone for those first few stages. So you could get a lot of early points from him.
Yeah, you could end up with 300 points from him after the first 2 days. And let's not forget, stage 4 descends into Valois, which he is very well known for that descent after 2022.
Yeah, and now it's on. Now you've told me that, it's I'm gonna have to. I thought I was set, and now I'm gonna have to squeeze him in.
Well, because like Van der Poel.
I don't think he's worth it. I think he's like without Van Aert, but light, if you see what I mean, because he's going to be doing lead outs, so you're not getting any points there. And there's not enough intermediate. It's like the same reason I'm not thinking of picking Mohoric. I usually pick Mohoric for Tour de France because those 3rd week transition stages, but there's only like 1, maybe 2 in this whole race that you can actually look at and go, oh yeah, they'll get away. That won't be a sprint stage. So I think he will win at least 1 stage, especially as this is only his 8th. Day 1 is going to be only his 8th race day of the year, which is crazy.
I love Derek G. I loved him in the Giro. He's been amazing at the Dauphiné, and it's not going to be his first Grand Tour. We know, even though he's going to give his best every day, and we've seen it at the Giro. This guy can ride for 3 weeks. He has a bad day for sure, but I think he will bring his 800 points. Marc Ducot, I picked him last year. He was useless. This year he looked better, so but I don't think against he's going to be worth it. Ben Healy maybe also, but it really I don't know how many chances the breakaway guys will get. I think they'll get maybe like 3 or 4 stages. That's maximum. There's the guy on form. Everybody's talking about him, the Italian champion, Bicciol. And one of you guys said like the first stage is going through his hometown, so for sure he has eyes on that yellow jersey. And now that might give Pedro some second thought about Carapaz, because Bicciol might be going for it. And of course, there's the wonder kid of the season, Maxim Van Gils.
Oh, what a man.
When you realize it, I don't think Luto has much here to do except for Dilly. And Dilly is going to be his Grand Tour. I'm not sure he's going to finish it. And Van Gils, stage 1 is going to suit him perfectly. He's
Yeah.
going to be there on stage 2. How long can he go? I don't know. But for sure, he's another one who's going to be worth the 8 credits. So for me,
Van Gils is one of my favorite riders. So right now, so he's just having an amazing season. G, I mean, who would say he was gonna perform like that? And Betio, I mean, those are the 3 that make sense to me. Healy, I understand if someone wants to pick him because it's actually a pretty nice pick. He'll go for breakaways, I believe. He'll be there fighting for some stages, but I believe it's gonna be between G and Van Gils for me. So I think those 2 are the ones where the most value is at.
Yeah, I think I learned from the Giro d'Italia, from Navarez specifically, that you kind of just want to pick somebody who can actually just get off the mark quite quickly. Good if you can pick somebody who could do a couple of stages or in the first week, like a Van Hills.
Yeah, I'm always really bad at getting off the mark. I always just pick my favorite riders, and then the results happen. I go, oh, I should have picked them, shouldn't I? Which was, I mean, to be fair, I don't think anyone saw Narvaez coming at the Giro.
No.
Bettiol, I think, is the big one. And then G as someone who could do literally anything. Like, he could win stages, he could be top 10 GC, he could do KOM. And then, yeah, Van Hills in the same bracket as Bettiol. But I think I trust Van Hills more because he's a better climber than Bettiol. But Bettiol's got that home field advantage, as they say in American football.
That's true. That'll only last so long.
It's a whole 3 stages.
A whole 3 stages. I think Bettiol could do well stage 1. Stage 2, he's going to get dropped. Stage 2.
It also just depends how it's ridden, because Pogacar might want to light it up from the start, and UAE, it's 3,700 meters of altitude, and Bettiol came second on the Mons stage, which had the same, but a lot of that was at the end because it had that the steep climb, whereas it's all in the middle for stage 1. So I would love Bettiol to be like in a breakaway or attack really early and being like, 100k breakaway or something. But yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, I don't see UE. That first stage, the last couple of climbs on there are just like 5%. Doesn't seem quite hard enough to make a move. And also, if Poggy were to like launch it, he's got to go solo for such a long time on stage 1. It just seems a little bit risky. Like, I think he'll do it on stage 2. That San Luca climb, he can make a difference and hold it over the last ascent. But I think that stage 1 could be more like a reduced sprint. So yeah, I think Bettiol, I mean, in that new Tricolore, that's going to be
I can't wait to see that jersey. EF do really good national champs jerseys.
See, what do people think Derek G is capable of here? Could he be a GC contender? Could he be top 10? Could he compete?
Same bracket as Jorgensen for me, in that technically he's the weight of a classics rider, because he should. I think his registered weight is like mid 70s, like 75 or something, and I think that is what Jorgensen 73, 74, 75 is what Jorgensen is going to be operating on. I just hope it isn't a flash in the pan and that he's peaked a month before he should have done.
Nobody tempted by Laz Carno. He had a very good day for now.
So yeah, so did G, and we're not sure about him, are we?
Wow, that's true.
I think he's just going to be like he and Healy are going to be in the same breakaways for 3 weeks.
there'll be good breakaway riders, like Pedro said. Like, they're very interesting picks, very intriguing. I can see why people want to pick them, but
I think 8's too expensive as well.
yeah, they're just like the style where they win, which is solo, just is going to be really hard to do in this race. Whereas somebody like Van Hills and Bettiol and G have a bit more of a kick, so they are just a bit more versatile in how they can get points.
So there's not really any pure breakaway stages for their kind of like rouleur climbers, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
It's like only stage 18, basically.
Yeah,
From
which
that to
Mohoric will
Barcelona.
win.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, Mohoric will win that. Move on to the 6 credit riders. There are so many to be going at. I quite like a few of them. I like Bruno Amarai. I like Laurens de Plus, Rui Costa. I won't take them all up because obviously I want to hear what the other guys have to say. Paula Pereira and like Stephen Williams.
The stop is Kevin Vauclair. He was looking really good and he has a good TT. And for some reason, I picked him for Tour de Suisse, was it? And he was just absent and nowhere to be seen. So I have no idea whether he was preserving himself for the tour or it's just he picked too early in the season. There's Harold Tirada, who's our usual breakaway guy for the mountain, like the Kenny Ilesson type. But I don't think there's going to be too many chances for these guys because from the start, like Pedro said, Jumbo will try to hide Jonas, and UAE are aware of it. And Pogacar has been preparing for this tour for a year now, and that team he has, I don't think Breakaway will have many chances. And come the second part of the tour, Jumbo will be doing their things, sending, like they say, the attack à plusieurs étages, so sending guys in the breakaway for them to catch up with. And then you will get Fulsang, who I think is Wash. Chris Nylands would have been a good choice, but as homage to John, we'll have to talk about Tom Skunge. And to be honest, I think he's the best choice for me. He's found some form since last year. We've seen him, and he'll be here for the lead out of Mats, and Lidl Trek have no actual proper GC leader. Okay, Sikon is here, but I think him and Julien Bernard will be free because unfortunately Tao Gegenhardt is sick and won't be at the start. And if you're thinking of Casper Pedersen as sprinter, just don't go for it. I've just looked at the races that he's been doing with Remco.
For me, it's probably going to be Stevie Williams because he's got that early chance of doing well with the 2 stages, and then not for very long, but he'll be in GC for a bit. I'd really like Paul Lepera, not just because he's now the French national champ. He'll want to show that off. I know he's more of a puncher sprinter, but he'll have been training in the mountains, so he might do quite well. Unfortunately, a lot of them I like, but they're only specifically good at either, like Axel Laurent would be really good if this wasn't the Tour de France. Soren Kragh-Andersen would be in all the breakaways, but no. Youngles and Halle get assist points for Roglic, whatever he does. But the thing is, I want to plough all my credits into GC and sprinters, but the problem is there's no 4 credits that I want. I'm basically picking 3 very air quotes average 6s. So I've got Williams, Vauquelin, and Lapera, and just hoping that they do something in those first few stages because they're pretty much all similar types of riders in that they're pretty punchy and they can deal with hills.
We all agree that there are like 4 or 5 riders that are just a bit above the others, like De Plus, Williams, Lapera, Vauquelin. My favorite rider is De Plus in terms of abilities, but what's gonna be his job inside Ineos? If they, I truly believe they should split the team and go for GC with half the team, and half the team would go for stages. The Plus could score a lot of points if he was given the freedom to do so.
Plus just finished like 5th or 6th in the Dauphiné, and he's a 6 credit unclassified rider. Like that's somebody who's done quite well recently in a very serious race and is quite cheap and easily attainable. We also saw from Ineos last year, like they sent Kwiatkowski in the break and he won up for Grand Colombier. Like they're not scared to send people in the break to try and get breakaway wins. They do still enjoy getting those breakaway victories. They're still important to them. It's just that they also think the GC is really important. And yeah, Stephen Williams, like think of him as a name. He's won La Flèche Wallonne this year and he's won a serious stage race in the Tour Down Under, and he's a 6 credit unclassified rider.
Someone I've just spotted that I need to mention again because they're British is Fred Wright.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Because I think this is the cheapest he's been in a while. I swear he's been like 8 with Mohoric in previous years. And he didn't do the British National Champs because he was training at altitude, which he hasn't done in the preparation for a Grand Tour before.
The trouble really comes, I think, this year in the 4 credit rider area because there's very little to be going at here. Does anybody see any kind of glimmer of hope, like a single kind of crumb of anything redeeming here that you might be
Alpecin lead out men, or
Alpecin
assisters
to get 40?
So you got Robbie Keys, Jonas Ricard, and Oscar Riesebeek, who, as it was pointed out in our group chat, are probably going to score a maximum of 60 odd points if Philipsen wins like every sprint stage or something stupid. I'm about a year out with this, or 2 years out with this, but I do like Anthony Turgis because Total Energy have about 4 punchy riders, and he has been in very bad form for a while now. So I feel like, I mean, he might be in contract year, he might not be, but I feel like it's the perfect time to just pop up with a 12th or an 11th or a 10th in a sprint.
He has done that in previous Tour de France sprints.
Yeah. Well, I swear it was the year, was it Sagan's last year with them maybe? And anyway, he to be fair, like he in previous years, he's been that sort of Pedersen, like, because I mean we see him at San Remo. I swear he's got like 3 podiums at San Remo. Yeah, like, he's a great sprinter, a great sprinter after a hard day. He just hasn't been there this year, really.
Yeah, but I agree. Like of all the names here, he's got like the best results probably of the people.
He's got the biggest. None other of those 4s have got a monument podium to their name.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody else here has finished second in San Remo before. I think, Turgis will probably get more than the assist points the Alpecin boys will get. Let's face it. Like even if he finishes,
he'll probably be in that transition stage or 2 as well. Because I swear, in previous years he's been in that stage 18 or stage 19 with Asgreen and Laporte.
Yeah, I mean, and let's face it, like Dan said, they've got 4 punchers here, but we've only ever heard about 2 of these Total Energies riders. Like most of them I've never heard of before, to be honest. I've heard of.
Well, I got told apparently, Bashir, as we can see there, he was 3rd at Giro del Veneto in 2022. So we should absolutely have known who he was before. I say with a massive amount of sarcasm.
Oh, wow, well, I am so sorry.
I know, right?
I'll put him next to the monument podium of Anthony Turgis next time. Pedro, Irfan, is anybody else in this 4 credit area that you like?
Yeah, I'll probably just end up with a Alpecin boy.
I didn't know McClay was 4, to be fair. I hadn't seen that update. That's
the problem.
Alpecin have got, not Alpecin, RK have got so many sprinters, but I mean, he actually has got sprint pedigree. So
yeah, he actually can sprint, but there are like 3 riders.
It's such a low standard. He can sprint.
Better than he can sprint. But Demar, Mozzato, Capio, how likely is it that they all DNF or crash so that he can have a shot? I'll just probably end up with a Alpecin boy for the assist points, or I'll just spend 10 minutes looking at their PCS stats, trying to find someone who likes to go on breakaways.
Do you know what I've just seen, Dan? We are actually incorrect because Sylvain Dillier is here, who has also finished on the podium of a monument.
Oh, it was the Roubaix, right? 2nd at Roubaix?
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
I'm sorry, Sylvain. I forgot you existed.
I'm so sorry, Sylvain Dillier.
I did see something in that guy called Clément Rousseau. and I got shot completely by Jeremy. That is no way that guy's going to sprint. And there's also Anthony Churches. He
Yeah.
seems to be the less slowest. You can see it in the tour.
The least slowest total energy guy. Yeah. You know you've reached the end of an hour and a half Velogames podcast when Turgis is the guy you're focusing on.
Is Johannes Kulsev the one who got disqualified from Slovenia?
Yeah,
Well,
that's
incorrectly
fine.
disqualified, but yeah.
Didn't he come like top 10 in Tour of Oman early this year or something?
Yeah,
like that?
yeah. Oh, he's got a decent .pro record. It's just very random that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying this flippantly and disparagingly, but it's just very funny that the CEO's son gets picked, but Leknesund, who was bought from DSM for a bit of money, isn't in the team. And they basically brought. I'm joking. I'm not being slanderous, but they basically brought half their Trobro Leon team because you've got Abrahamson, Tiller, Warrenskold, and Christoph, who are all pretty much the same rider except to a different degree of sprinting.
Yeah, that's true. So, in summary, from a
Anyway.
rider, it's kind of a picking the cat shit out of a dog shit. To be honest, it's not that great.
One of these guys is going to be chicken salad out of chicken shit. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, basically, Turgis we think is the best because he could sprint for 12th. Dan McClay could be good so long as the other 3 sprinters on his team crash. Yeah, or you could go Alpecin to get 50 assist points a pop. And there you go. Also, or you have a for the nepotism. Basically, who's on people's teams? Dan, who's on your team at the moment? Obviously, this is a Tuesday, by the way.
Well,
the race next on Saturday.
Yeah, I have moderately tinkered whilst we've been talking, and I'm fairly happy with it. So I've got Pogacar, Roglic, Carapaz, Ciccone, Pedersen, Williams, Vokaland, Lepera, Gaviria. And I think the only 2 who are going to change from that potentially is it's going to be the axis of Vokaland, Lepera, and Roglic, because something could either become a Remco or Jorgensen, and then that can upgrade one of them to Pidcock. And there's another 8 I've forgotten the name of, Ben Hills and G. So there's like 3 other guys I want to try and fit in that will have to be sacrificed. Roglic will have to be sacrificed, but I think I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, I like that. Pedro, who's on your team at the moment?
At the moment, my team is Poggi, Almeida, Yates, Carapaz, Pedersen, Van Hills, Williams, Ricard, and Bennett. I'm probably downgrading Bennett so that I can get another 6-pointer instead of Ricard. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If Visma did a 1, 2, 3 on La Vuelta, why can't you
Fair enough. They're gonna go.
We shouldn't brush over that.
They're gonna go one better at a bigger race.
Yeah.
There's a Cycling Weekly article that said, "Can they do the clean sweep?"
It's gonna be a very common team.
Yeah, and Irfan, who's on your team?
So I've got Pogacar, Almeida, Ciccone, Buitrago, Pedersen, Derekji, De Plus, and I think I'll have to think about the last 2 again. I've got Clément Rousseau and Wout van Aert. So I think I'm pretty lucky for the first 7. It's just I have 18 points left for the loss and class and wildcard. So I'll think something about it.
Yeah,
I think I can find better than Clément Rousseau.
I actually looked at the best team from last year's race before this recording, and it seems to be that what you like last year's team, the winning team had Pog and Jonas, so 1, 2. They had Simon Yates, he was 4th. They had Felix Gal, so those are like 2 value for money people in the top 10. They had Philipsen. Then they had 3 4-credit riders who were all rubbish. And then they had Brian Cockard in as a 6-credit person at the end. And it's kind of like it's not the most inventive team, but it's the one that won, which
It's
kind
going
of
to win the most stages, isn't it?
yeah. And I haven't really made a team, but like I'd probably go like Hoggy. Basically, I'm thinking who's you kind of want that. You kind of want those two people on the podium, and it's like realistically, I think that could be Yates. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Which one?
Adam Yates. The all-rounder, I don't know about that one. Sprinter, I think Pedersen is the safest. I think in this other climber category, you take an 8 credit rider. I quite like Ciccone. And then here, I like Pidcock. I quite like, I don't know, I'm literally making this up on the fly. People are literally seeing my thoughts processed. I'm running out of money here, so I'm going to have to go with some 6s. Like, I could go with like a 6 and a 6, I guess, here.
Yeah, the problem with the Yates one is that you kind of need him to podium.
Yeah, I need him to podium. Yeah. But it's like
Which I do trust him to do, seeing as I've already predicted him to win. But it's still, you look at it on paper, and until like post race is one thing, you can look at it and go, oh yeah, got that. But you look at it on paper, and I've had a team like that where you have 2 8s and then Yates and Pogacar, and it's just like, I'm not sure it looks amazing. What are your thoughts on the wild card, or the value of the wild card, having someone like Betrago, Carapaz, Ciccone, blah blah, or Bennett, Gaviria?
Well, I did think this I did exactly this during the Giro. I put Piffy in, and I literally thought beforehand, I was like, GC is where the money is. They always get the most points to get the points at the end. They get the daily points. And I thought I need to put Rubio in, but I didn't. I went with Piffy because I was scared of all those sprints and missing out, thinking, all those sprints where I'm going to miss out on those top 5s. Piffy didn't do too much. And I should have gone with Rubio because he ended up getting like 600 points more.
I think the lesson that I always take from both Velogames and other games is you are scared of the sprinters because obviously it's the air quotes sort of predicted obvious finish, but GC will quite often score more points.
But that's it for our video. This has been a long one, but it is at the end of the day the grand. Well, it's the race. It's the big race that takes place underneath Belgium, but above Spain, and to the
maybe starts in Italy.
Maybe starts in Italy and might cross the border into a French region. I don't know. But that's been it from us four from the How Do Velogames podcast. Thank you very much for watching, and let us know what you're thinking as to who you're thinking of putting onto your teams in the comment section down below. And all that is left to say is to stay safe out there, and we will see you in the next video. Salut.